Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive.
Good to be here.
Today, we're jumping into some pretty intricate source material. It comes from astrologer Tushar Shukla.
Right, and he is an expert in a couple of related areas.
Mm-hmm.
Siddhant Jyotish, which is, a specific type of predictive astrology,
Okay.
and also Tantra or Javijan.
Which translates roughly to Tantra energy science. That second one sounds key, doesn't it?
It really is. It's central to our mission today, which is to get into this concept called Pret Dosh.
Yeah, often just called ghost affliction, which, let's be honest, can sound a bit dismissive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Shukla's core argument, and this is really what we want to unpack for you listening, is that this isn't just superstition or folklore.
No.
He's claiming it's an actual, maybe even measurable, state of imbalance, right in the person's own subtle energy field.
So we're talking about it like an interference pattern. The sources keep mentioning the quantum energy matrix. Let's maybe not get totally lost in the terminology straight away. But if we run with this premise, what exactly is this affliction, energetically speaking?
Well, Shukla defines Pret Dosh as this state where external invisible energy enters someone's aura field.
External energy, like from where?
Often linked to deceased souls, he says, and specifically their unfulfilled desires, that residual energy. It basically enters and occupies the person's aura.
Occupies, like an unauthorized tenant in your energy field.
That's a good way to put it, yeah. An energetic occupation. And it's framed as going way beyond just feeling down or anxious.
Right.
It's more like the person's physical, mental, even spiritual energy starts being dictated by this outside force.
And the source material suggests we don't just randomly become vulnerable to this occupation.
No, definitely not random.
Yeah.
He claims it happens when certain planetary positions line up.
Okay.
And that combines with something called Pret Dosh, which we understand as ancestral affliction.
Ah, the ancestral angle.
Yeah. So the planets and the ancestral stuff together, they destabilize the person's own energetic defenses. That's the idea.
So that vulnerability is the starting point.
It is. When your own personal frequency, let's say, is low or disturbed, you become open to it.
And the impact.
Shukla says it's direct. Your thoughts get muddy, lose clarity, your willpower weakens. And you get that restless feeling that just wears you down. It erodes your stability.
Okay. So to really understand the diagnosis here, we need to look at the planets involved, the ones acting as the architects of this vulnerability.
Exactly. The planetary blueprint.
I find this methodology really interesting. So which specific planets or positions are considered the main culprits in creating this energetic breach? The sources list 4 key ones.
Yeah, 4 main players. We can start with Ketu.
Ketu.
Shukla calls Ketu the gatekeeper of the ghost realm.
Wow, okay. Why?
Because it represents invisible powers, hidden things. It's seen as the primary way this sort of cold, invisible Pret energy spreads.
Spreads. But not all the time. It needs certain conditions, right?
Right. It needs influence, specifically influence from the moon or the ascendant sign in the birth chart.
Or specific houses.
Yes, particularly the 5th or the 8th astrological houses. When Ketu interacts with those, that's when it becomes a channel for this energy.
Okay, the 8th house. Why is the 8th house so significant here? In astrology, it often relates to pretty heavy stuff.
It absolutely does. The 8th house governs transformation, longevity, yes, but also sudden events, secrets, hidden knowledge.
And death, the afterlife.
Exactly. Mortality and the afterlife fall under the 8th house. So in Ketu, which is all about detachment, invisible realms, and endings, influences that specific house.
It's like opening a door.
Pretty much. It essentially opens a direct, maybe unmoderated channel straight to those realms, those energies. So the affliction isn't just random bad luck.
No, it's a targeted breach.
A specific breach in the energetic system that governs, well, survival and transformation. Deep stuff.
Okay, that clarifies the house placements a lot. So Ketu is the gatekeeper. Next up is Rahu.
Rahu, often seen as Ketu's opposite, associated with illusion, worldly desires, ambition.
But here it's called the master of illusory ghosts. How does that work?
Well, Rahu doesn't necessarily create the external energy in the same way Ketu might channel it. Rahu acts more like an amplifier.
An amplifier.
And a magnet.
Yeah.
It attracts this external energy, especially when Rahu connects with the 5th house.
Which rules intellect, creativity, children.
Right. Or when it connects with the moon, which represents the mind and emotions. When that happens, Rahu forms this kind of barrier.
A barrier, like a shield.
Yeah, like a thick shield of invisible energy around the person.
Mm.
But it's not a protective shield. It actually stops positive energy from getting in, and it traps the negative influence inside with the person. It creates an isolating effect.
Energetic isolation bubble.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, things seem to shift when Shani, or Saturn, enters the picture. That brings the ancestral element right into the planetary mix.
Yes, Shani's influence is significant. It's identified as the primary factor behind ancestral affliction, Pret Dosh.
Pret Dosh.
And the source material claims that when Shani combines with either Ketu or Rahu,
Okay.
and specifically in that critical 8th house,
There's the 8th house again.
it's crucial.
Yeah.
When that happens, it effectively gives birth to both problems. The Pret Dosh, the ancestral energy issue, and the Pret Dosh, the external occupation that follows.
So Shani links the past, the ancestors, to the present affliction.
Exactly. Shani provides the karmic weight, you could say, and the structural weak point for the affliction to really take root and manifest physically.
Okay, so we have Ketu, the entry point for invisible energy. Rahu, creating the isolating trap. Shani, bringing in the ancestral karmic link. What's the fourth planet?
Mangal. Mars.
Mangal, yes, Mars. It's described here as the generator of tantric obstacles.
Tantric obstacles. What does that mean?
It acts like an accelerator. It injects this aggressive, disruptive energy into the whole system.
How?
If Mangal is placed with Rahu or Ketu in either the 12th house.
The house of loss, isolation, hidden enemies. Right. We're back in that 8th house again. When Mars is in those positions with Rahu or Ketu, it causes a significant impact that Shukla specifically attributes to negative tantric practices or intentional energetic attacks.
So like psychic attacks or curses.
That seems to be the implication, yes. Intentional obstacles. And Shukla uses this really vivid phrase here. He emphasizes these planets aren't just static points of light.
What does he call them?
He says they are living waves.
Living waves.
Yeah, living waves that create a subtle, controlled, and very distinctly cold energy field around the person.
Let's pause on that phrase, cold energy. That sounds specific. If we accept this idea of living waves creating this cold field, how does Shukla differentiate this Pret Dosh from, say, standard clinical psychological issues, like depression or anxiety?
That's a really important question.
Because the source says it goes beyond just mental instability. Where's the line?
The line, in his framework, is the origin of the problem. He argues that clinical disorders, like depression or schizophrenia, generally originate within the mind or the body's own chemistry. Internal factors.
Okay.
Pret Dosh, however, is presented as an external interference, an outside energy source messing with your system.
So the symptoms might look similar on the surface.
They might, the causeless fear, maybe hearing voices, restlessness. These can manifest mentally and physically. But the root cause, according to Shukla, isn't brain chemistry alone.
It's this cold energy occupation.
Exactly. It's the imbalance in the personal frequency caused by that external cold energy.
Right.
And because the root is energetic, he argues, it can't be fully resolved just by adjusting chemistry.
It needs frequency adjustment.
Frequency modulation, yes. That's how he frames the solution.
Okay. So if someone is potentially experiencing this kind of occupation, what are the telltale signs, the specific warnings that their energy field is out of balance?
The symptoms are often described as cyclical, persistent, and kind of inexplicable by ordinary means.
Like what?
Shukla lists several key ones. Hearing invisible voices is a big one, especially at night.
Okay.
Experiencing a constant nagging fear that doesn't seem to have a rational cause. Deep restlessness you just can't shake. And also, finding yourself significantly blocked whenever you try to do something positive or spiritual.
Block how?
Like you try to meditate and suddenly feel agitated or unable to focus, or you feel a strong aversion or obstacle when trying to enter a place of worship. It's like the interfering energy actively resists positivity.
And does this spill over into the practical day-to-day world?
Oh, absolutely. That's a key part of the diagnosis. The symptoms often manifest very materially. Recurrent health problems, issues that doctors struggle to diagnose clearly or treat effectively. They might offer temporary relief, but the problem keeps coming back.
Okay, chronic health issues. What else?
Financial obstacles. Things constantly going wrong just when you seem close to success. Unexpected losses, blocked opportunities, a persistent pattern of financial struggle, and just a general pervasive feeling of negative energy, especially in the home, like a heavy, oppressive atmosphere you can't clear.
So these aren't just isolated bits of bad luck.
No, in this framework, they're seen as direct manifestations. Your mental, physical, and spiritual energy is being drained or diverted by this external interference, and it shows up in your health, your finances, your environment. They're warning signs that the quantum field is unbalanced.
So we've talked about the planets setting up the vulnerability, but the sources also highlight two major environmental factors that can either contribute to this or make it much worse.
Yes, the environment plays a huge role.
Let's start with the ancestors again, that Pret Dosh. How does that feed into Pret Dosh?
It's fundamentally about residual energy. The idea is that if ancestors died with strong, unfulfilled desires or unresolved issues, their energetic imprint, their consciousness doesn't fully dissipate or move on peacefully.
It lingers.
It lingers, yes. And it stays connected to the living descendants. This lingering ancestral energy is described as being quite powerful, but often heavy or disturbed.
And that affects the living person.
Dramatically, according to Shukla. It constantly pulls down the living person's own vibrational frequency. It makes them energetically heavy, more susceptible.
Like leaving the energetic door unlocked because of the family connection.
That's a perfect analogy. It lowers their internal defenses, making them an easier target for any external Pret energy that might be attracted by the planetary setup.
Yeah.
Shukla is very direct about this.
How so?
He states that ignoring this ancestral disturbance, not addressing the Pret Dosh, is considered dangerous, not just for your current life and well-being, but potentially for your soul's ongoing journey.
Wow. Okay, so it's a serious energetic liability.
Very much so. It's like a constant drain or interference originating from your own lineage.
So that's the ancestral environment. What's the second factor? The physical home.
Yes, the actual physical structure of the home, interpreted through the principles of Vastu Shastra.
Vastu, the traditional Indian system of architecture and space arrangement, right? How does that connect to ghost affliction?
The home itself can act as a medium, or even an amplifier, for these energies.
Yeah.
Vastu teaches that different parts of a building have different energetic qualities.
Okay.
Shukla specifically points to potential problems with negative vibrations accumulating in the 8th or 12th corners or sectors of the house.
The 8th and 12th, again, aligning with the astrological houses.
It seems very much aligned, yes. Those areas, if energetically compromised according to Vastu principles, can become like repositories, holding points for Pret energy.
So the house itself can trap the energy.
Or amplify it. Living in such a space can increase feelings of fear, contribute to illness, mental instability, sleep disturbances, basically worsening any existing Pret Dosh caused by planets or ancestors.
So the cosmic factors, planets, the lineage factors, ancestors, and the physical space Vastu all interact.
They form a kind of feedback loop, potentially trapping the individual in a cycle of negative energy. The house becomes part of the problem, not just a backdrop.
To make this really concrete, the source material gives some specific case studies. Can we look at how these different elements, planets, ancestors, location, actually came together in people's lives, according to Shukla?
Yeah, the cases really illustrate the interplay. For instance, there's the example of the businessman.
Right. He had ongoing health and financial problems.
Continuous barriers, yes. Couldn't get ahead, constant health issues. In Shukla's analysis, the root wasn't just one thing. It was identified as a combination of ancestral dosh, the Pret Dosh, and a strong affliction involving the 8th house in his birth chart, likely involving Shani or Ketu there.
So how did that combination manifest the Pret Dosh specifically?
Well, the planetary setup in the 8th house, maybe Shani Ketu, created the structural vulnerability. That manifested as the chronic health problems and the sudden repeated financial downturns. That was the underlying weakness.
But that wasn't the whole story.
No. The active interference, that feeling he probably had of constantly hitting an invisible wall, of things just not working despite effort that was attributed to the Pret Dosh.
The ancestral energy.
Exactly. Because those ancestral desires were unresolved, their lingering energy acted like this low-frequency hum, constantly dragging down the businessman's own energy.
So even if he tried remedies?
Any remedial efforts, whether medical treatments or financial strategies, couldn't gain lasting traction because his fundamental frequency was being suppressed by the ancestral connection. It prevented success.
That really drives home the idea of Pret Dosh as a sustained interference, not just a single event, like a chronic energetic condition.
Precisely. Caused by a systemic failure across multiple energetic levels.
We also saw a case mentioned involving Rahu and Mangal together. How did that play out?
That combination created a very localized but intense problem. An entire family started experiencing extreme shared fear.
Shared fear.
Yes, and severe sleep disturbances. But then this was key. It only happened when they were inside their home, particularly at night.
Ah, so the location was critical.
Absolutely. This points directly to the aggressive, isolating energy of that Rahu-Mars combination being dramatically amplified by a specific defect in the home's Vastu.
The house itself became toxic.
It essentially turned the home into a negative energetic amplifier at night. The planetary influence found a perfect resonance chamber in the house's flawed Vastu.
And there was another case involving Ketu and Shani.
Yes, that combination led to symptoms more focused on the individual's internal state. Constant fear, hearing voices, significant mental instability.
More psychological symptoms.
Seemingly psychological, yes. But Shukla's diagnosis linked it directly to a visible imbalance he observed in the person's aura field, stemming from that Ketu-Shani conjunction, likely impacting the 8th house again.
Okay, so the point of these cases, from the astrologer's perspective,
is to demonstrate that Pret Dosh, as he defines it, is a real phenomenon of energy interference with tangible consequences, not just a myth or a psychological projection. It's diagnosable through these combined factors.
So given this complex diagnosis, reading the birth chart, checking ancestral history, assessing the home's energy, the path to fixing it, to alignment, must be equally multifaceted.
It has to be, yes. You can't just address one piece.
What kinds of methods are cited in the source material to restore balance to these disrupted energy systems?
The remedies presented fall squarely into the domain of that Tantra Orja Vidyan, the Tantra energy science. They're all about frequency modulation and energetic purification.
Not just getting rid of the negative energy.
Not just removal, no. It's about recalibrating the person's entire system so they're no longer vulnerable.
Okay, so how does that recalibration process start?
It often begins with sound energy, using specific mantras and performing yagas.
Mantras and yagas.
Yeah.
Sacred sounds and fire rituals.
Exactly. For example, there are specific mantras for Ketu, Rahu, Shani. The Ketu mantra might aim to foster detachment and spiritual clarity qualities opposite to the clinging, confusing energy of Pret Dosh.
So the sound vibration counteracts the planetary influence.
That's the principle. It helps dislodge that lingering cold energy that Ketu might have allowed in. And the yagas, the fire rituals, are powerful purification tools used to burn away the dense, accumulated negative energy in the person's field or environment.
How do they differentiate between cleansing the person and cleansing the space, the home?
They use specific energy cleansing rituals tailored for each. For the individual, the focus is on purifying and strengthening their aura field.
Sealing the breach, so to speak.
Precisely. Sealing those energetic leaks caused by the planetary positions. For the home, the rituals target removing those negative vibrations stored in the problematic Vastu areas, like those 8th or 12th corners.
Turning the amplifier back into just a room.
Exactly. Neutralizing the space so it no longer contributes to the problem.
This really does sound like a kind of subtle energy warfare.
It's described very much in those terms, a subtle war of consciousness and energy, which leads to the ultimate goal of the remedies.
Which is?
What Shukla calls quantum vibration alignment.
Quantum vibration alignment. Okay.
This represents the complete process. Harmonizing the energy of the body, the mind, the soul, bringing everything back into coherence.
And the result?
The goal is to restore the individual's personal frequency to a strong, high, stable state, one that's naturally resilient and immune to future interference.
So it's about building energetic resilience.
Absolutely. And Shukla frames this whole process, recognizing the affliction, understanding its roots, and taking these timely measures to restore balance as being incredibly important. He calls it the greatest necessity of life.
The greatest necessity. That's a powerful statement. It really gives us a unique perspective on difficulties people might face.
It certainly does.
So let's try to synthesize this. We've journeyed through this intricate framework presented by astrologer Tushar Shukla. We've seen the connections he draws between invisible energy, very specific planetary alignments, the weight of ancestral energy, and what he terms the individual's quantum energy matrix, or aura field.
And the core takeaway, the central warning that comes through loud and clear from the source material, is really about control. Energetic control. The message is pretty blunt. Ignoring Pret Dosh, if it's present, is like handing over the steering wheel of your life, your thoughts, your health, your success to an invisible external power.
Losing your energetic sovereignty.
Exactly. So, maintaining control over your own life, your energy, your consciousness, requires, in this view, understanding these potential interferences and actively working to establish and maintain a specific kind of high-frequency energetic balance.
Which leads us perfectly into our final thought for you, the listener, to maybe ponder on. If we accept this model, even just hypothetically, where Pret Dosh is diagnosed through this complex charting of an ongoing energetic battle, then astrologer Shukla implicitly poses a challenge.
It's a challenge about awareness.
I think so.
Well,
If the affliction itself is described as a subtle attack on your awareness, on your consciousness, how do you personally actively cultivate and use the power of your own awareness?
using the insights described in these sources.
Right. How do you strengthen your own consciousness to act as your ultimate defense? To avoid becoming, as Shukla puts it, a victim in the game of Pret energy.
That's a deep question to sit with. How much power does our own focused awareness hold against these potential subtle influences?
Something to think about. Thank you for joining us on the deep dive.
Thank you.